When Francois Truffaut was visiting London, he saw Jack Clayton in a restaurant and passed him a note which read, "The Innocents is the best British film since Hitchcock left for the United States," meaning that The Innocents is the best British film since Jamaica Inn or The Lady Vanishes. This got me to thinking, what are the Master of Suspense's best British films? It is not a secret that Hitchcock made some crap during his British career, not naming any names. However, he also made a substantial amount of films that proved as millstones of filmmaking, as well as some that changed cinema forever. This video will be a list of my personal favorite British Hitchcock films, so if you think anything is missing, please let me know in the comments below. In 10th place, we have The Farmer's Wife from 1928, a sweet comedic silent film about a widowed farmer played by Jameson Thomas, who, with his housekeeper's help, played by Lillian Hall Davis, tries to find himself a new wife. The best thing about this not very Hitchcockian picture is the sweetness and charm of the movie. Unlike some of Hitchcock's more profound silent pictures, like The Manxman or Champagne or Downhill, the simplicity of The Farmer's Wife's narrative and cinematic intentions makes the picture stand the test of time, for me personally, much more than these more complicated silent pictures of Hitch's. Speaking of un-Hitchcockian Hitchcock, in 9th place we have Waltzes from Vienna from 1934. This amusing and intriguing picture is about the true story of how Austrian composer Johann Strauss Jr. was inspired to compose the Blue Danube Waltz after watching bakers toss rolls and mix batter. This biopic was also a musical film and was part of a cycle of operetta films made in Britain during the 1930s. Apparently, Waltzes from Vienna was the lowest stage in Hitchcock's career, who told Truffaut in his interview with the director that he only took this job as there was not another film project that year and Hitchcock wanted to stay working. However, the picture is not as bad as you might think. It is a very well-made biographical film with a very engaging story, and it possesses a great performance by the great Edmund Gwenn, who plays Johann Strauss Sr., and also stars Jesse Matthews, Faye Compton, and Esmond Knight as Johann Strauss Jr. Waltzes from Vienna also has a great musical climax at the end of the picture, with Hitchcock conveying really well to the audience the power and grand achievement of the newly composed Blue Danube Waltz. Hitchcock also said that Waltzes from Vienna gave him the opportunity to work out ideas in the relation of film and music. Apparently, every cut in the film was worked out on the script in pre-production, as well as the musical cuts as well. In 8th place, we have a more Hitchcockian, but still not fully Hitchcockian picture, Rich and Strange, from 1931, or East of Shanghai, as it was called in America. Rich and Strange stars Henry Kendall and Joan Barry, who play a married couple living a mundane British life. But suddenly, the couple find themselves in possession of a fortune from an unexpected inheritance, and the two immediately leave on a cruise for the Orient. Events on their hedonistic wealth-filled voyage quickly takes power over them, and the couple find their relationship strained to the breaking point. Just like the greatest of breaking or boiling point pictures, such as Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing, or Ang Lee's The Ice Storm, Rich and Strange also has a symbolic event that takes place that acts as the boiling point to the couple's relationship. This event is a shipwreck. Just like the Titanic 19 years earlier, Kendall and Barry's cruise suffers a collision in the fog and starts to sink. Without spoiling the ending, I will just say that the married couple's relationship is brought to the ultimate test, the test of having only each other in order to try and survive. I really enjoyed this unique picture from Hitchcock, finding the entire film very captivating and loving the shipwreck climax. This film was a real adventure on both a physical and emotional level. In 7th place, we have Hitchcock's most famous silent film, The Lodger, a story of the London fog, from 1927. Not much explanation is needed for this masterful silent horror thriller about the hunt for a Jack the Ripper-like serial killer in London. The killer is known as the Avenger in this film, And silent Welsh composer and actor Ivor Novello plays a man who looks just like the description of the murderer, who finds lodgings in a house with the other tenants of the house, particularly its landlady, suspecting Novello of being the killer. Now, who wouldn't want to watch a picture this cool? The story of the London fog is brilliantly suspenseful, freaky, and well shot, and is an undoubted classic of both Hitchcock's work and of silent cinema. What more should be said? In 6th place we have...
Now, Miss Andra, you asked me to let you hear your voice on the talking picture.
But Hitch, you mustn't do that.
Why not?
Well, because I can speak well.
Do you realize the squad van will be here any moment?
No, really. Oh, my God, I'm terribly frightened.
Why? Have you been a bad woman or something?
Well, not just bad, but...
But you slept with men.
Oh, no!
You have not. Come here. Stand in your place. Otherwise, it will not come out right, as the girl said to the soldier. That's enough.
That's right. It's Blackmail, Hitchcock's first sound picture from 1929. Although it started production as a silent film, British International Pictures decided to make Blackmail a sound film instead. Recorded on the new RCA Photophone sound on film process, Hitchcock's Blackmail became the first successful European dramatic sound film. This picture was shot at the British and Dominion's Imperial Studios soundstage in Boreham Wood, being the first purpose-built sound studio in Europe. Blackmail was released in both a slightly shorter silent version and a slightly longer sound version, starring Hitchcock veteran Annie Andra, as well as John Longid and Cyril Richard. The film is about a woman who, after having killed a man who tried to rape her, is blackmailed for the murder. Blackmail, the sound version, is a great film that is entertaining and gripping right from the start of the well-shot, staged, and directed attempted rape and murder scene, to the blackmail itself, with a great performance of the blackmailer, Tracy, by Donald Calthrop, to the intriguing development of the story, and all the way to the great ending climax at the British Museum. Michael Powell claimed to have suggested to use the British Museum as a location for the final chase scene, and I recommend reading on the IMDb trivia page about how Hitchcock shot this British Museum scene, because it is incredibly interesting. Furthermore, Blackmail is filled with memorable and even funny moments, as well as great mise-en-scène and other Hitchcock genius, making Blackmail a true Hitchcockian picture. In 5th place, we have 1937's Young and Innocent, or The Girl Was Young, as it was called in the US. This crime thriller stars Nova Pilbeam and Derek Dumarnay. Young and Innocent is about a young man who is on the run from a murder charge, and he secures the help of a young woman who must put herself at risk in order to help him. This film was a really great man-on-the-run mystery thriller with a great captivating story, a fantastic Hitchcockian ending climax, which resolves the actual murderer, and it was also on this film that the master of suspense staged a great elaborate crane shot which identified the real murderer. In 4th place, we have the great dark thriller by Alfred Hitchcock, Sabotage, from 1936. This Sylvia Sidney and Oscar Homolka starring pre-film noir film noir is a great merciless, stone-cold thriller about a terroristic sabotage in London. Sabotage is about Oscar Homolka, the husband of Sylvia Sidney and stepfather of her son, Steve, played by Desmond Tester. Homolka is suspected of being a terrorist agent who is planning to set off a bomb in London. Sabotage is filled with so many brilliant features. It's filled with shadows and frightening noir cinematography, great acting from Sylvia Sidney as the vulnerable victim of a possibly sinister husband, Oscar Homolka, who was perfectly cast in his role as the sinister, possibly terrorist husband. And the use of the cinema setting being the working milieu of Homolka is awesome as well. Overall, Sabotage, based on Joseph Conrad's novel, Secret Agent, not to be confused with Hitchcock's film Secret Agent, being based on Somerset Maugham, Sabotage is a fantastic, dark, and ruthless picture. Now we get to the top 3, the best of the best of Hitchcock's British films. Can anybody guess what they are? In third place, we have Daphne du Maurier's Jamaica Inn from 1939.
I always knew that to live like a gentleman, one must have money. Pengallen! Half my friends living like paupers, and I'm living like a prince. More alive than half the people here. Look. No one gets clear of the wreck! No one, you hear?
I'm going to Jamaica Inn.
No place for a young lady.
Keep it quiet. We've got a visitor.
What can be said about Jamaica Inn? Well, actually, speaking of which, Hitchcock himself disliked both the script of this film, written by Sidney Gillett and Joan Harrison, as well as disliked Charles Laughton's performance. How can anyone dislike anything Charles Laughton does? Maybe only someone as great as Laughton himself, being Mr. Hitchcock, can. Jamaica Inn is about a young woman played by Maureen O'Hara in Cornwall in 1819 who discovers that she's living near a gang of criminals who arrange shipwrecks for profit. Jamaica Inn is full of thrills, adventure, and Charles Laughton, who plays an incredible, vile leader of the pirates. There's nothing more to say other than go watch Jamaica Inn. In second place, the silver medal goes to...
Heard of the 39 steps? See, the very brilliant agent of a certain foreign power is on the point of obtaining a secret vital to your air defense.
You ever heard of a thing called persecution mania?
You don't believe me?
Frankly, I don't.
These men will stick at nothing. I'm the only person who can stop them. If they are not stopped, it's only a matter of days, perhaps hours, before the secret is out of the country. These men act quickly. There's a man in Scotland whom I must visit next if anything is to be done.
Beautiful, mysterious woman pursued by gunmen. Sounds like a spy story. There's been a murder committed up on the first floor.
Are you?
No. Are those 2 men out there? They're spies, foreigners. They've murdered a woman in my flat and now they're waiting for me.
Oh, come off it. Never heed the murder, Mr. Hannay. I don't doubt you'll be able to convince Scotland Yard of your innocence as easily as you've convinced me.
Alfred Hitchcock's masterpiece, The 39 Steps from 1935, is about a man in London, played by Robert Donat, who meets a counter-espionage agent who gets murdered in his presence. Donat gets accused of the murder and goes on the run, along with Madeleine Carroll, to save both himself and also to try and stop a ring of spies called the 39 Steps, which is trying to steal top-secret information. The 39 Steps is one of Hitchcock's most thrilling and engaging films for me, with great locations, great acting, a fantastic suspenseful and twisted story, and brilliant mise-en-scène. Voila! Plus, it has one of the coolest mystery unraveling climaxes of all time. So, did anybody guess what my number 1 pick is?
Where is she?
There has been no English lady here.
What?
There has been no English lady here.
But it's ridiculous. She took me to the dining car and came back here with me.
Who went? He came back alone.
I know there's a Miss Roy. She's as real as you are.
That's what you say and you believe it, but there doesn't appear to be anybody else who's seen her.
I saw her, I think. That isn't Miss Froy.
That's right. It is one of Hitchcock's absolute masterpieces, The Lady Vanishes, from 1938. The Lady Vanishes is about a woman, played by Margaret Lockwood, who, while traveling on a train in continental Europe, realizes that the elderly lady she has been sitting with seems to have disappeared from the train. Filled with mystery, thrills, action, adventure, comedy, and romance, this spy thriller action film is not only the best train movie ever made, but also one of the greatest films of all time, in my opinion. The best thing about this movie for me is this very fact that The Lady Vanishes is filled with so many different genre types that I have just listed, and the picture works perfectly in every one. This film is an absolute must-see for Hitchcock fans and simply fans of cinema alike. Well, that's it. Were you surprised that something was not on the list? If so, comment below. Thank you very much for watching, and please everyone, check your attics and under your stairs in case you find a print of Hitchcock's The Mountain Eagle from 1926, as that film has been missing for too damn long. See you all next Friday.